start recording, get everything all set. Okay, perfect. And just a quick recap for everyone who will be watching the recording later. We've got a nice, small, intimate group today, which I absolutely love. But I do notice a lot of you guys are watching these later, which is great. That's why I make the replays available for everyone. I know I've got a crazy schedule and a lot of people do. So for everyone who can't be here live, at least you can watch the recording later. Let me go ahead and start sharing the screen so we can get started. But welcome everyone who took time out of your busy Sunday to be here. I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you so much for that. I love not just talking to myself. It makes these classes much easier when I have people to actually speak with. So, and I will answer Q&As at the end. So if you have any questions that come up, just drop them in the chat. And once we get to the end, I'll see them. As I'm recording, it doesn't let me see the chat when I have the screen share up. So that's why I kind of ignore you guys' questions throughout the presentation. It's because I can't see them, but I will address them at the end. And I'm still a little swollen, so forgive my appearance, everyone watching the recording later. I tried to put on a little contour, tried to hide the swelling, but hopefully my doctor says I should be like all healed up in about 4 weeks. So maybe the next time you guys see me, I'll look normal. Okay, well, welcome everyone. And today we are going to talk all about stress and anxiety. As you can see, the class is called Don't Be a Stress Mess. All right, let me just let in a few more people here. And welcome to Regenesis RX. That is my little company that I've started just to kind of get more healthcare information to you guys. And please keep the suggestions coming. I just want to say that you guys give me all of the best topic ideas. All of the information I get those ideas from you guys, okay? I'm not that smart to come up with all of this stuff off of the top of my head. You guys ask me these wonderful questions. You give me all the best ideas for my content for social media, for the classes that we're going to have, for my ebooks. Literally everything just comes from you guys. So if you've got any questions, concerns, send them my way and I will address them at some point. I'll add them to my little roster of things that we're going to talk about. And one of the wonderful suggestions from you guys was that you wanted a class schedule just so you could kind of look ahead and see what's coming up, see what you want to make sure that you don't miss. So if you look in the app, you will see a live webinar class schedule. So you can see everything coming up. And, you know, that may change a little bit. The topics may change or shift as things come up, but that is the tentative schedule. And like I said, let me know anything else you want to talk about because I'm always open to suggestions. Next month, we will be talking about constipation and diarrhea for the free class, the big class for everyone. And for the app-only subscribers, it's going to be all about heartburn. I've had so many requests for heartburn as well, so I thought that would be a great one to kind of deep dive into. And at the end of all of this, actually, I posted it earlier this morning, I went ahead and dropped in a new ebook that is all about everything we're going to talk about today. I also dropped in a quiz that you can take on HPA axis dysfunction. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, that's okay. You're going to learn all about it today. And I dropped in some recipes. Part of the way that our body gets stressed, not necessarily our mind as much, but our body is through inflammation. And a lot of times the foods that we're eating can be inflammatory, particularly dairy and gluten. Even if you're not allergic to it, even if you don't have celiac, you don't have lactose intolerance, they're still fairly inflammatory. So sometimes taking a break from those foods in the short term for a few weeks or a month can really kind of help quiet the inflammation in our bodies and kind of help us to reset. So I'm going to be dropping in dairy and gluten-free recipes. You can check those out. They're right there in that live app section, live webinar section, sorry. So I kind of gave you guys a lot of extra information this class in particular. I hope that you find it beneficial. Okay, brief introduction. Hi, I'm Pharmacist Jamie. You guys already know me. That's all we need to say there. All right, and what are we going to cover today? Let me just let in. Okay, there we go. We're going to cover how stress destroys us from the inside out. Of course, we know stress is bad, but we're going to kind of get into more detail of exactly what it does. We're going to be talking about HPA axis dysfunction or dysregulation. Like I said, if you haven't heard of that, stay tuned. And also practical, free lifestyle modification tips that can help your stress and anxiety. And of course, supplements and medications. I'm a pharmacist, so I always got to talk about supplements and medications as well. If you want to go all natural, we've got those options. If you want a little bit more help, we got those too. All right, standard disclaimer here. This class is for educational purposes only. Don't take anything I say here as a prescription directly to you. I actually work with quite a lot of you now, one-on-one, which is great. So that stuff is a little bit different, but these classes where it's in a group setting, this is just general information for you to take back to your own healthcare provider. So don't take this as the gospel as directly applying to your situation. Every situation and every body is different. All right, so let's talk about stress and what it does to the body. Stress kills. Short-term stress can actually be very beneficial. It can increase, oh, hold on, let me just let in these last few people here. It can increase focus, energy, and attention. This is why our body does this. This is why we release cortisol. It basically is set to prime us to handle a difficult situation. Of course, originally it would be something like a lion chasing us on the plane, or we see a prey animal and we're starving. We really need to get this prey animal so that we can survive, right? But in the long term, stress is not so beneficial. Chronic stress is associated with high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, diabetes, obesity, literally all the bad things. These cortisol bumps that cause us to be extra focused and extra dialed in and able to do these incredible physical feats like you've heard about, the moms who can lift up a truck to save their baby. Great in the short term. This is not something that we want to be coursing through our bodies in the long term, right? When the body feels threatened, when it really needs to go for action, it prioritizes cortisol production and getting to a safe place above all else. It will put every other bodily function to the side. That includes proper digestion. That includes healing your body. That includes literally everything. The production of sex hormones, which are really protective and important for our thriving and for our just living a wonderful life. You're going to get more information on exactly how this happens, but when the body prioritizes cortisol over everything else suffers. Okay. So what is the HPA axis? This thing I keep talking about that some of you may be like, what on earth is that? HPA stands for hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal. Okay. And the HPA axis is an intricate feedback loop that takes place between the hormonal control center of the brain, which is the hypothalamus, the master gland that monitors and manages the execution of the hormone producing glands, that's the pituitary, and the adrenal glands that actually make the cortisol, which is your stress hormone, and the DHEAs. DHEA is the precursor for all of the sex hormones, testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, everything. So now I hope you're starting to see why stress is a libido killer. Okay, if our body is prioritizing cortisol, it's not making estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, which are super important chemicals, not just for libido, but for literally everything. This is why women struggle as they go through menopause with things like bone health, because estrogen is so protective. This is why men struggle with energy if they have low testosterone, because testosterone really just boosts your well-being, your vitality, all of these things. So when your body is only producing cortisol and putting DHA to the side, not good. Okay, our sex hormones are protective of all types of things. And if our body is always prioritizing cortisol, we suffer big time. So trying to put this into layman's terms, the HPA, think of the hypothalamus as the CEO of our body's production of hormones. It basically scans all of the messages from our environment, checks on our body's overall hormone status, and then it will pass on orders for more hormone production to the pituitary. The pituitary is like a project manager. It pulls together different individuals to do their specific jobs, and it makes sure that everyone has the resources that they need to do their jobs effectively. It manages the growth and repair and the electrolyte water balance. Okay, that's going to come into play as well. The adrenal glands, those are like the boots on the ground. You might call them like the factory workers, the ones actually physically doing the job. They make the hormones, the cortisol, and the precursors to the sex hormones. All right. So what does a healthy HPA axis stress response looks like? When the HPA axis is healthy and something stressful comes up, the CEO of hormones, the hypothalamus, sets off a hormone cascade using CRH, or corticotropin releasing hormone, not that you need to remember that, to get the body ready for a threat or a situation where it needs to be on high alert. Something like a big game, like the Super Bowl. You're going into the Super Bowl, you want to be focused, you want to be strong, you want to be ready for anything, right? Or maybe a public speaking event, right? That's another great short-term thing where you want to be sharp, ready for anything, good to go, right? So this leads to the pituitary providing signals and materials to the adrenal glands to pump out that extra cortisol or stress hormone to have you primed and ready for action. The body shifts resources from activities that are non-essential to survival, like digesting food, creating other hormones, cleaning up the junk around our cells. This is something that's really important for anti-aging. We want to keep those cells cleared out from junk. The body puts all that on hold when it is going into fight or flight cortisol production mode. All right. This process of being in that fight or flight mode is called the sympathetic state. Once the threat or the stressful event has passed, our body is then supposed to return to the parasympathetic state. The parasympathetic state is where we do all of our resting, our digesting, our healing of the body, getting good sleep, clearing the junk out of our cells, literally all of the things that day to day don't seem that important, but long-term are extremely important. All right, so what is HPA axis dysfunction? It is the result of chronic stress. So instead of a singular stressful event that our body primes for and then down regulates from, our body is stuck on high alert permanently. And honestly, this is so common in today's world because we tend to not just have like a single stressful thing that we look forward to a few weeks and then we do it and then it's done and then we can relax, right? We tend to have constant worries, stress, things piled on top of our head, whether it's bills, really difficult job duties if you've got a high stress job security. That's a big one. There are a lot of people who their job per se isn't that stressful, but they worry about job security. In today's economy, any of us can get axed at any time. I know I had it happen to me, and it was like one of the most traumatizing things of my entire life, right? Anxiety, even about the state of the world, right? We're always hearing about these wars or these crazy political events or whatever. And we get to hear about every single bad thing that happens everywhere because now we have a 24/7 global news cycle. So where it used to just be we knew about local events, now we know about everything. And, you know, the bad stuff sells. So that's what they're constantly pushing into our ears. And it can be really stressful, especially people who are sensitive to that type of thing. People who are very compassionate towards others, when they hear about other people around the world suffering constantly, it really stresses them out, you know, especially because there's nothing they can do about it. In this scenario, the adrenals are kicked into overdrive constantly to pump out cortisol continuously. And we get wired, irritable, on edge, stressed, and super anxious. Now that is called stage 1 of HPA axis dysregulation or dysfunction. Stage 1 here, they label it alarm. All right, that's just when you're like triggered all the time, you know, you're having a lot of trouble getting back into that parasympathetic zone. You're just like constantly, you know, you probably have a lot of trouble sleeping. You just feel really edgy, really uptight, really nervous. All right. The synthesis of other hormones when we are in stage 1, the healing of our body, the proper metabolism of sugar and nutrients, all of these things declines. We are amped up and we are ready for action continuously. We are not giving our body a chance to heal. This is actually exhausting, both physically and mentally for the body. And excess cortisol for long periods of time is super damaging to the body. All right. It increases blood sugar levels. It increases blood pressure. You know, people who are stressed, they tend to have blood pressure that is through the roof. It prevents proper healing and rest and sleep. So eventually, in an act of self-preservation, the HPA axis adapts and it downregulates. It stops making so much cortisol, even though it's still getting those exact same signals from the CEO. The hypothalamus is still like, no, 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 we're stressed out. We need to take care of this. The body's like, absolutely not. Like, you're slowly killing me. I'm not doing it anymore. I am not putting out the cortisol at the same level. So that self-preservation stage starts to activate stage 2 of the HPA axis dysfunction. I call it stage 2. A lot of things, they call it resistance. This is basically your body flip-flopping all over the place, trying to protect itself, but still kind of getting those signals. So stage 2 of HPA axis dysregulation is the cortisol roller coaster. You're all over the place. Your adrenal glands are sputtering. They are trying to keep up with the signals from the hypothalamus and the pituitary, but they're also being held back by this protective function that your body is giving out to not produce so much cortisol. So at times your cortisol is sky high. You are a worried mess. You can't sleep. You're wired. You're on edge. You're anxious. And then at other times you have super, super low cortisol, which makes you feel blah, which makes you feel brain fog. You're exhausted. You have trouble waking up in the morning. I call this stage 2 wired and tired. You're kind of alternating between the two, right? You're either like, or you're like, right? Nothing in between. Now, stage 3 of HPA axis dysfunction, this is just chronically low cortisol. Your HPA axis kind of goes offline, and it leaves you without the key hormone signals that your body needs to thrive. The big key is there's no cortisol, right? So you get low blood pressure. You kind of get the opposite of stage 1. You can get orthostatic hypotension, which basically means when you stand up, your body is supposed to make your blood pressure shoot up so that you can get blood to your brain. When your body is not able to do that because the HPA axis is just kind of offline and dead and done, your blood pressure drops when you stand up. So when you stand up, you feel faint. You see black. You feel like, oh, I need to sit down again. I stood up too fast, right? That's orthostatic hypotension. You might experience dehydration because, as I said earlier, the HPA axis also deals with your electrolytes and your water balance. And if it's offline everywhere. It's not just stopping cortisol production. It's kind of offline for everything, right? You can experience cravings for salty foods and pasta, basically related to the dehydration again. Menstrual irregularities. This is a key sign for ladies who are not going through menopause. If you are having off-the-wall menstrual irregularities, a lot of times it is due to HPA axis dysfunction because, as I said earlier, your estrogen and progesterone, they're not being made appropriately either. It can also lead to low libido. Gentlemen, your testosterone's in the tank. Ladies, your testosterone as well. That's also the hormone that gives you libido. Offline, not working. Fibroids. This is an interesting thing that a lot of women are not aware of. If you constantly have to deal with fibroids, it may well be related to HPA axis dysfunction. Fibroids are caused by low progesterone, so it's something worth looking into. Also, increased cholesterol. If your cholesterol is shooting up and your diet's pretty good, on point, you don't understand what's going on, might be related to this because cholesterol is used to make all of these hormones. So if the cholesterol is not being used up in hormone production, it tends to just kind of go everywhere. It can get accumulated in your arteries and lead to high cholesterol. You may experience depression. Low mood is absolutely part of an HPA axis dysregulation. Rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune symptoms, fibromyalgia, fatigue and exhaustion, those are like the key symptoms, and also light sensitivity. For whatever reason, we see a lot of people who are going through HPA axis dysfunction, very sensitive to light. They want no part of having the shades open, going outside. It's just, they're almost like vampires, right? So how can we come back from HPA axis dysfunction? What can we do about it? First, I want to warn you, this takes a little bit of time, all right? I've offered you guys some relatively quick fixes for things like digestive issues, but HPA axis dysfunction can take time. Now, I do have a protocol that's only 4 weeks that's going to make you feel really good at the end of the 4 weeks, but that does not mean that you're healed, okay? That means that you are starting down that pathway. Some people that I've worked with, it can take them up to a year to have a completely normal stress response and a normal HPA axis function. All right, so it takes time, it takes rest, it takes work, okay? Not necessarily like work, but you'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. If you're not that advanced, if you're only in like stage 1 where you're like super wired and like, I'm a stress mess, I can't relax, it may be pretty short term for you. You might be better in like 1 to 2 months. But if you're already into stage 3, like I said, it can take a while, okay? This is why doable, livable steps matter. Things that you can do every single day that are not stressful, that don't add to your plate, things that make a huge impact over the long term. All right. Once again, as always, guys, I'll never give you a 21-day fix, right? These are things that are meant to be a lifetime. All right, so what are some of the lifestyle modifications you can do that are generally free or pretty low cost that can help you to get back on the right path? Number one, it's always going to be diet. Okay. You guys know I always say food is medicine, right? So make your body feel safe with a great diet. Step one, cut back temporarily, not forever for most of you, unless you end up having celiac or something. But for most of you, try to cut back temporarily on things that cause low level inflammation throughout the body. It is best to eliminate gluten, alcohol, processed sugar, and dairy for a period of time. I suggest about a month if you can. I know dairy tends to be one of the most difficult ones for people because everyone loves cheese, but if you could at least cut back on gluten, alcohol, and like those really processed sugars, that is going to be huge. And I am putting in those recipes. Check those out. I think that you'll be surprised. It's nice to have some better ideas because sometimes we're just like stuck, like, what on earth can I make that doesn't have cheese or gluten, right? So check out those recipes, see if there's anything palatable there for you. A paleo and Mediterranean style diet is ideal. I mean, I love paleo and Mediterranean for the long term, but if you can at least do that for a while, it will help cut back the inflammation in your body. Also, keep your blood sugar in check. And you guys know how to do this. I've talked with you about it several times. Every time you eat a carb, add in a protein and or a fat. That's going to help, keep your blood sugar from spiking so precipitously. Also, 2 minutes of physical activity after you eat. I will say this every single class because it's cheap, it's free, it's easy. Walk for 2 minutes. If you are not able to walk, do any type of physical activity whatsoever. Nice and easy, nothing intense, just for 2 minutes after you eat, you guys. It is amazing what it can do in the long term. I've looked at the clinical trials, I've looked at the data. It's mind blowing and it's so simple, right? Also, if you're able, don't skip breakfast. Okay. Once again, when you look at the data, it shows that skipping breakfast is not a good way to go about things. People who skip breakfast tend to be more overweight. They tend to struggle with blood sugar balancing. They tend to struggle with a lot of health issues. People who eat breakfast tend to be of a lower weight. They tend to be healthier. They tend to have less issues with their health in the long term. Now, every single body is different. We are all wonderful little snowflakes, right? So I'm sure that there are going to be people out there who skipping breakfast is a good idea. But for the vast majority of us, getting something in our bellies right away is probably a good idea, just according to the science and the evidence, all right? Add in some nutrient-dense superfoods as well, like chia seeds, berries, avocados, cinnamon, dark leafy greens. I have people ask me all the time about the latest superfoods. Colostrum is one people ask me about all the time. Hey, if you want to add that in, go for it. Sure. It's in the same category of superfood. So it's not like a wonder drug all by itself, but getting in these nutrient dense, mostly fruits and vegetables, things like colostrum, sure, that is a great thing that just kind of provides your body with tons of polyphenols, antioxidants, things that your body can use to heal itself. All right. Okay, what else can we do? We can give our mitochondria support. For those of you who don't remember back to organic chemistry class, mitochondria generate most of the chemical energy needed to power our cells. And there are lots of ways that you can help support these mitochondria that basically give you all of your energy. Something that you can consider is adding in balancing teas to your routine. I'm not going to go over all of them here just because it takes a lot of time. And I wanted to keep this class to about an hour if possible. So look at the ebook. It's going to describe in great detail 8 different balancing teas, and it's going to have reasons why you might use one over the other, precautions for certain pre-existing conditions like pregnancy or high blood pressure, whatever. But balancing teas can help in a few different ways. A lot of them are full of these antioxidants that can help battle the free radicals that can damage our mitochondria. Some of them are really good for supporting restful sleep, which we know that's the time that our body heals. Some will boost your energy levels in the morning. If you tend to be someone who's kind of dragging around in the morning, probably related to HPA axis dysregulation, there are teas that can kind of help wake you up, give you that little boost of energy, help give your cortisol a little bit of a spike, because a lot of us are low in cortisol in the morning, just kind of help get us started the right way. And also make sure that you are eating enough good fats. Okay, your mitochondria need healthy fats to create energy efficiently. This is going to be your omega-3s. You'll find them in fish, olive oil, avocado, omega-3 supplements. Lots of great fats out there. Another thing that you can do is prioritize your rest. As you rest, your brain clears out the neural waste and the toxins that build up on a daily basis, which helps your mitochondria function more efficiently. Guys, honestly, sleep is one of the greatest anti-aging tools available to you. All right, I cannot say enough about getting rest to get your HPA axis back on track. I've been going through a little bit of this myself, you guys. You know, I've been burning the candle at both ends. I just had this surgery, and I did recently another Dutch test. I know I test myself all the time. It's crazy. But my cortisol levels were absolutely in the tank. I tested myself over 2 days' time, and in that time, I almost didn't even have a cortisol spike. So I have really been prioritizing my sleep, my rest. You guys might have noticed I haven't been quite so present on social media. I still release my stuff normally, but I've got all of that stuff like logged up. Like I have this wonderful little app on here that releases my content automatically. I'll sit down and I'll make like 30 videos in one day and then upload them onto here to release every 2 days. It's beautiful. But it's important. It's important for all of us. Okay. I don't care how busy you are. You have to make time to rest, to give your body a chance to heal. Another thing that you can consider is adding carnitine. Carnitine basically optimizes your body's ability to burn fat for energy by transporting fatty acids into the mitochondria where they can be burned and used. You guys might remember I talked about carnitine in the weight loss class because it can help you burn fat. It can also help you use energy efficiently by burning fat. Okay, the next thing is a circadian rhythm reset. Now, if you have looked at the class schedule, you know that we are going to do an entire class on insomnia and sleep. This is one of my great passions as a shift worker. I constantly deal with this. Oh no, we got people in the waiting room. Okay, there we go. So this is just a very light, short version. I don't have the time to go into all the detail of how you can do this, but here are a few key points that can at least hold you over until that class is available. But something that you can do is get a high dose of very bright light within 1 hour of waking. And outside light is absolutely the best, you guys. If you cannot access outside light within 1 hour of waking, if you work the night shift like me, for example, then make sure that you get a light that is specifically designed for light therapy. Regular indoor lighting just does not cut it as far as our needs go. Okay, I don't know if you guys have ever had like greenhouse tomatoes or the indoor tomatoes, how they usually just like don't taste as good as tomatoes that are like grown outside in the garden. Generally, it's because they don't have these great full spectrum lights. We are the same way. Otherwise, we get sunburned, right? Because we're under bright light all the time. We don't get sunburned. It's because this light is not the same. Like standing under fluorescent lighting is not going to give your brain and your body the same signals. It's not going to help you make your vitamin D. It's just not the same. So try to get outside, give yourself like 10 minutes of light out there, and it can really help to get your circadian rhythm on track. As far as in the evening, try to limit artificial and blue light as much as you can at night. And all of the typical sleep hygiene tips, those still apply. You know, keep your room nice and cool and dark. No electronics at bedtime. Don't exercise for at least a couple hours before bed. All of that applies. I just don't talk about it that much because you guys already know all that. There's no need to beat a dead horse, but yes, those can definitely help you as well. Something that people don't think about sometimes is timing your supplements well. Okay, because your supplements, they can boost you up and they can bring you down. So you want to take the right things in the morning and the right things at night. High fat and energy boosting vitamins like B vitamins are a great example. People think you can kind of take them anytime because you can. You can take them with or without food. They don't interact with much, sure. But it's best to take B vitamins in the morning. All right, if you're taking them at night, getting that dose of B12 and B6, that's going to boost you up. Take it in the morning. All right, there's no need to boost yourself up at dinner. Okay. Also, magnesium. That is one that I generally love to tell people to take at night. It tends to be very relaxing. It can put you in a restful state of mind, generally very helpful for sleep. But I will say that about 1% of people, for whatever reason, find magnesium very energizing. So if you've taken magnesium before and it's like kept you up at night and you're like, I don't know, I feel energetic. You're one of those people. Take your magnesium in the morning. All right. It's rare, but it absolutely happens. I'm actually making a video about this to release on social media. Another key point is try not to miss your sleep window, that wonderful magical time where you just naturally start to feel tired. A lot of people push past that because they're like, oh, I want to clean up the house. Oh, I have this deadline that I have to meet at work. I really need to get XYZ done. People are starting to think about taxes, all kinds of stuff. The problem is if you push past that magical sleep window, it's usually going to be at least 2 to 3 hours before you feel tired again. All right. That's just like the wave of our brain and how it works. Okay. You get a sleepy period, then it gives you another boost of cortisol. And that sleepy period is not going to come back for several hours. So let's say your sleepy time is 10 p.m. If you push past that, you might not get back to bed until 1, right? Not great. So when you start to feel sleepy, if at all possible, take advantage, okay? And then also keep a consistent sleep schedule. People get on me all the time. They're like, I can't do that because I try to go to bed at 10 and I'm not sleepy, da, 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 da. I completely understand. The key is to wake up at the same time every day. You may not have control over when your body decides to fall asleep. You absolutely have control over your alarm clock. Wake yourself up at the same time every day. All right. It's going to be rough, maybe for the first few days, maybe for the first few weeks, but your body will eventually catch on. Hey, we're getting up at 7 a.m. no matter what. So we need to be in bed by 10 or 11. All right. I promise. It's one of the best hacks out there when it comes to getting your circadian rhythm right, is just maintaining the same awake time. Okay. Number 4 thing you can do is de-stress with pleasurable activities or actions. All right. This is so simple. Just do more of what you love and less of what you hate. Our days are so full of obligations. It seems like we don't have the opportunity to do anything for ourselves, but you must make time for this every day. This is one of the best ways to prevent workout. Do something that brings you joy every single day. Do something that makes your life worth living. If you have become a servant tending to the needs of every single other person in your life, to your boss, to your partner, to your kids, to your friends, and you never worry about you, it starts feeling like your life isn't worth living. You feel like you're running on a treadmill and getting nowhere. All right. Doing a small little thing for yourself every day can make all the difference in the world. You can start by making a chart, because sometimes people are so disconnected from themselves. They're so busy taking care of everyone else. They don't even know what they like, right? I can tell you, I've been in this place before too. So I've got a little chart here. You're also going to see this same chart in the ebook that I'm going to give you. So simple. Just on the left, things that make you feel better. Go ahead and list some of those out. On the right, things that make you feel terrible. All right. Try to do something from the left-hand side every day. It can be super short. It can take 2 minutes, but if it makes you happy, it goes over there. And then on the right, these are things that you need to try and eliminate or try to minimize as much as possible. Like, let's say you hate laundry. Okay, well, maybe you can just have one day that you do laundry, or maybe you can convince your partner to do laundry, or maybe you can hire a laundry service if you're able. You know what I'm saying? There are ways that you can help eliminate some of those things on the right-hand side as well. Okay, as far as tips that can be pleasurable, that can help you de-stress, physical touch matters. Even for those of us who aren't too touchy-feely, physical touch can absolutely help. This can be cuddling, maybe with your partner, maybe with your kids, maybe with your pet. All right, sometimes just having that little furry, warm body next to us that we can kind of pet and cuddle with makes all the difference in the world. Massage, that's another wonderful way that you can get in physical touch. Maybe it's holding hands with someone, whatever. Any type of physical touch, we find in general releases oxytocin, which helps our parasympathetic system. It's just really good for us. Laughter. I don't know, you guys follow me on social media, so I hope that you saw my post about the study showing what a big difference laughter makes in your health and in your longevity. All right, so get in laughter however you can. Maybe it's hanging out with your friends, maybe it's watching a comedy special or a comedy show, whatever makes you laugh, try and get something that brings you that little bit of joy. Nature. This is another thing proven in clinical trials. Being outside is proven to help us regulate and respond to stress better. Okay. Also, warm sensations, something that, you may not necessarily think of right off the bat, but these warm sensations are proven to help release that oxytocin, help us feel good, help us de-stress. So something like sitting in the sun, cozying under a warm, fuzzy blanket, sipping on hot tea, anything that kind of warms our body, a warm bath, whatever. So try to do one fun thing or one self-care thing every single day, just something to look forward to. All right. Number 5, people tend to be a little bit resistant about this one, but being creative, doing something creative boosts dopamine. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter involved in energy production and mental clarity and motivation. A fun fact is that ADHD patients are usually very deficient in dopamine. All right, so this can be incredibly beneficial for ADHD patients, but really for anyone. And it can be anything creative whatsoever. You may not think of it as creative, but it is. Cooking, that's a wonderful example, especially if you're kind of adding in your own flavor, changing things up a little bit. It can be such a wonderful outlet. Crafts, art, if you're lucky enough to be artistic. I would know nothing about this, but I'm sure some of you are. Scrapbooking, that's one of my favorite things. I love gathering family memories. And they even, if you don't like to do the physical scrapbooking, they have these wonderful scrapbooking apps now. This is what I use. So much fun. You basically just get these templates and you just plug in your own pictures and sayings, and it creates this lovely, incredible family scrapbook for you. I absolutely love this. Coloring books. Maybe it's just coloring, just kind of let your mind go and color. Anything that helps you to be a little bit creative can boost up that dopamine and really help make a difference. Okay, number 6, engage in movement that feels good. The key part here is that it feels good. So engage in, oh, hold on, let me let in a few more people here. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to stay on top of it. Engage in physical activity that energizes you rather than drains. And this is going to be different for different people. If you are in stage 1 of HPA axis dysregulation, which I've been there before, and I know how it felt, you might want super intense exercise. It feels good to go out there and just run hard, run fast, or to do a high intensity interval workout. Just really like get that sweat on, and it feels good to let your body go as fast as your mind. Because, a lot of this stress, it's not physical most of the time. Usually it's mental, right? We're dealing with all of this mental, like, and our body's just sitting here like this because we're working at a desk job, or, you know what I mean? So the disconnect can kind of drive you crazy. So if you're in that stage 1, getting in some super intense physical exercise can be really beneficial sometimes. So you'll know when you get done with your workout, do you feel good? You're like, oh, I needed that, right? But if you are in stage 2 or 3 of HPA axis dysregulation, you may need something very chill. You might just want yoga. You might just want very low intensity weight training, for example. You might just want to go for a nice relaxing walk outside, walk your dog, whatever, right? So the key is to make sure that you stay active, but do what energizes you. Do what feels good. Do what feels right. Don't push yourself to do a certain program, even if it makes you feel like crap, because someone said, oh yeah, you need to do this program. No, listen to your body, you guys. If that's the one thing that I could tell you that's always going to help in every situation, listen to your body. It is always trying to tell you what it needs. You may not get the message sometimes, but it's always trying to give you a heads up. Okay, number 7, improve vagal tone. I've talked about this in several other classes as well, because people often overlook this and it's very beneficial. So the vagus nerve is the nerve that is responsible for activating that parasympathetic state that I talked about earlier. When you're in the sympathetic state and the cortisol's pumping and you're on high alert, the vagus nerve brings you back down. It is the thing that downregulates you into the parasympathetic state where you can rest, digest, heal, all of those things. Okay. So we want to improve the vagal tone. You can do this with a lot of different things. You can do deep breathing. There are great deep breathing exercises out there. You can do yoga. You can do meditation. If you know nothing about meditation, guys, there are so many free resources on YouTube, on different apps. I've got a few suggestions in the ebook that you're going to get. But I mean, literally, you can look up on YouTube and they'll have guided meditations from like 1 to 5 minutes. Super easy for beginners, because it's hard to meditate when you first start, to just clear your mind. Our minds tend to be ping-ponging everywhere. And it can just really kind of help improve that vagal tone. Anything that vibrates that vagus nerve, which kind of goes down through here, is going to help as well. So humming, singing, and chanting. And you guys know by now, for me, it's singing. Every time I get in my car, I sing loudly, and I just always think, I'm improving my vagal tone. I have got every excuse to be doing this. Number 8, this is probably the hardest one for so many of you, especially because as I get to know you guys more and more, I know what wonderful, kind, compassionate people you are and how you always take care of everyone else and make sure that all of your duties are done and very rarely think of yourselves. Set healthy boundaries. All right. I know how hard this is, but it is absolutely crucial because if you are constantly running yourself ragged and prioritizing everything else under the sun ahead of yourself, I can't help you. You can do all of these other steps, but if you are constantly treating yourself as a doormat and placing the needs of everyone else in your life above your own, there's no way to fix that. You know what I mean? You've got to get back to the root cause of it, which generally tends to be this. Okay, so stop tolerating the things that trigger you. These tiny little annoyances every single day that from one day to the next don't really seem like a big deal. But to experience these little annoyances every single day for months and years and decades, that adds up to a massive stress load over time. And like I said, they can be pretty small things. And a lot of times they're fairly easily fixed if you just address them. It could be clutter around your house. You know, the clutter stresses you out, but you just don't want to get to it. Other people are cluttering the house and you're tired of picking up after them. I find that clutter tends to be a big one. Criticism from loved ones. You know, like you're just looking for a kind word or a little support, or you just want to vent and instead they're criticizing you. That hurts. That hurts really badly, you know, and to get it occasionally, you think it's not a big deal, but when it's like constant, it just really weighs you down, right? Lateness or disrespect over time. A lot of times this can happen in a work situation, right? Like you show up on time and to have everyone else completely disrespect your time, things are starting late. No one is you're staying late behind work. No one is respecting the fact that you're staying late to clean up messes. That can be incredibly, incredibly stressful. Passive aggressive comments from others, whether it's in your home, whether it's at work, whether it's from friends, but these little passive aggressive, like, just say what you mean. You know what I mean? When you constantly have to hear these passive aggressive comments, it can be very stressful. It could be one-sided household chores. I find this is something I hear complaints about almost continuously. It's just like, you know, I feel like we both work, but then when we get home, I start my second shift and my partner just kind of lays around and gets to enjoy doing nothing, right? Stuff like that can be incredibly, incredibly disheartening and stressful. Lack of appreciation. That's another one. When you feel like you are giving your best and you are not getting the recognition or the appreciation that you feel that you should, that's really detrimental over the long term. Another thing that you need to learn how to do is learn to say no, okay? So many of us, we have been superstars for so long. We have been literal superheroes, doing anything and everything asked of us, always being, you know, at the head of the class, always being the one who volunteers for this and that and the other, and it burns you out. You can only be in that stage one for so long where you're handling everything, you're juggling everything, right? Eventually you will get burnt out. You will end up in stage 2 or stage 3. You must learn to protect your time. You must learn to prioritizing the things that make life worth living. All right. We cannot be a superhero 24/7 forever. So start prioritizing you. I know that's the hardest one, but it's the most important one probably. All right, so let's talk about some supplements that can help with stress and anxiety. The nice thing is there are quite a few of them. Yeah, and everyone's different. Some of these work great for one person, and then another one doesn't work so great. So you might have to do a little bit of trial and error, but I'll tell you my favorite one here at the end. Spoiler alert, it's the very last one, but any of these can be beneficial. Ashwagandha has been used traditionally forever in Chinese medicine, forever, literally for centuries, to promote balance and homeostasis within the body, to help counteract the effects of stress. It honestly has the best evidence for boosting testosterone out of any supplement. I have men asking me all the time about testosterone boosters. Most of that stuff is junk, just to be totally real with you. Ashwagandha has the most evidence to it. It's got the best numbers when you look at the clinical trials. Super interesting. It can also boost male fertility, probably once again related to testosterone production. It can improve libido in both men and women. Once again, testosterone, that's what gives both men and women libido. It can also help promote restful sleep. It has anti-inflammatory properties. I love ashwagandha. I use it myself. I think it's great. The problem with ashwagandha is that it interacts with so many prescription medications. do not start taking ashwagandha without talking with your doctor, because it can interact with blood pressure meds, blood thinners, anxiety medications, diabetic medications, seizure medications. This isn't even an exhaustive list, okay? It interacts with a lot, but it's great for those who are able to take it. It also should not be taken by those with breast cancer or hormone-sensitive prostate cancer. Once again, it's going to boost that hormone production. So not a good thing if you are trying to keep those hormones in check due to hormone-related cancers, all right? Also, don't take it if you're pregnant or nursing. Another side note, it needs to be separated by your thyroid medications by at least 2 hours. So you can't like take this and your levothyroxine at the same time in the morning, okay? And the interesting thing about ashwagandha is it can be taken in the morning or at night. A lot of people like to take it in the morning. They feel that it kind of helps keep them relaxed during the day. I like to take it at night. I feel like it brings me down and just kind of helps me to sleep better. So it's kind of individual. It depends on how you respond to it. Trial and error, like I said. From Designs for Health, we have Triganda. I really like Triganda because it has 3 different types of ashwagandha extracts in it that are proven in clinical trials. You guys know that's my big thing with Designs for Health, is like everything is proven in evidence and it's all third-party tested. Woohoo! It's my dream come true as a pharmacist, right? Okay, the next thing I'm going to talk about is Pharmagaba. It is the bioidentical form of gamma aminobutyric acid. I have no idea if I said that correctly. All right, I don't know. I'm not the best with pronouncing these clinical names. I got the drug names down, but this type of stuff, it's a little beyond my area of expertise. But GABA is a naturally occurring amino acid in the brain and a major inhibitory neurotransmitter in the central nervous system. What GABA does is it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the rest and digest state of our bodies that we spoke about earlier, helps bring you down for that sympathetic nervous state. Now, Pharmagaba, you can get it from other places as well. From Designs for Health, they have both like a capsule version and a chewable version. I like the chewable version because it gets released into your body really quickly. So I always have a little bit of this on hand for particularly stressful situations. I'll just pop 2 of the chewables and you feel the effects right away. It's kind of nice. The capsule is going to take a lot longer to work because it has to go through your digestive system, has to get broken down by your stomach, The chewable is going to go into your bloodstream right away, right? You can take it on the bottle. It says you can take it up to 6 daily. Honestly, I've had some patients who take it up to 8 daily if they're going through a particularly difficult time with no ill effects. So, kind of off-label usage there, but that's a pretty interesting one that you can use as needed. Whereas these other ones generally tend to be every single day. Okay, magnesium. You guys know my favorite magnesium is glycinate. It's the best absorbed. It helps with so many things. I am just a magnesium glycinate diehard person, but L-threonate can also be particularly beneficial for anxiety because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. So it might have a little bit of an advantage over glycinate when it comes to anxiety, but magnesium glycinate works for anxiety as well. So I generally just tell my patients, stick with glycinate because it's going to help everything. L-threonate's just kind of this one thing, you know what I mean? But magnesium's cool because it supports energy production, it supports cardiovascular function, bone health, healthy glucose metabolism, muscle relaxation, it prevents restless leg syndrome, promotes sleep. It's great. I love it. And I always tell people to take 2 about an hour before bed. But if you're one of those people who finds that it makes you alert, take it in the morning. Perfectly fine as well. Okay, Floromyces, you're going to learn a lot more about this in a couple weeks when we talk about constipation and diarrhea, because Floromyces is super interesting. It has Saccharomyces boulardii, which basically can treat diarrhea very effectively. It helps prevent diarrhea in like 80% of cases when you look at the data. Super, super interesting. But I put it in here as well because it boosts the GI tract's first line of defense. It prevents the adhesion of parasites, bacteria, and viruses within the digestive tract. We think that's why that it helps with diarrhea. Basically, it doesn't allow any of those bacteria, viruses, or parasites to stay in there. It, flushes them out and basically prevents the diarrhea from happening when those little bugs get stuck in there. It can also reduce brain fog, anxiety, and joint pain. Once again, probably related to the fact that it does not allow these things to take up residence in your GI tract. We know now how tightly connected the GI tract and the brain are. Super, super tightly connected. So if your GI tract is healthy, your brain is going to be healthier. probably why this one works. Not like my first go-to thing when it comes to helping with stress and anxiety, but an interesting option. If someone has diarrhea and anxiety, I'm going to suggest this every time, right? Okay, carnitine, we talked about this earlier. It has key roles in energy production, especially in using fats as an energy source. May also promote cellular health by preventing the accumulation of long-chain fatty acids in cells, which can cause damage. Carnitine levels may be impacted by metabolism, certain medications, liver functioning, aging, etc. So that's a cool option that you can consider. B vitamins. This is not something that people often think of. I think that B vitamins are wonderful for stress and anxiety. I think they're wonderful for everything, to be totally honest with you. They cannot be stored in the body. So that's why these have to be taken every day. It's not like vitamin D. You can't really like keep extra of it for when you need it later. It kind of has to be a continuous daily thing. But research shows that supplementation with B complex vitamins support healthy homocysteine metabolism. It can be great for cardiovascular health, metabolic, neurological health. Sorry, guys, I'm having so much trouble pronouncing words today. B vitamins are cool because they also help give you energy. This is why when you look at basically any energy drink, when you look at the 5-hour energies, all that stuff, they're always packed with B vitamins. It just gives you that little bit of a boost. Take these in the morning. Absolutely always in the morning with your B vitamins, okay? The thing I like about the Designs for Health version is that it has really good amounts of all of these. Sometimes with the B complex vitamins, they don't have enough of them. It doesn't make any sense to me. This has great amounts of every single one of the B vitamins, and it is in the methylated forms, the preferred pre-activated forms. Okay, some people, if you have a certain like SNP, you are not able to get any type of benefit from like folic acid, for example. You can only use the methylated form. So the Designs for Health version just made them all methylated for you. So no matter what type of SNP you have, no matter what type of genetic variation you have, this is going to be bioavailable to you. I think that's really nice. And it's great too, because, you know, a lot of times people are like, oh, the Designs for Health, you know, they're kind of expensive, which, yeah, they're not like your, you know, basement, super, super cheap vitamins and whatnot. However, a lot of people don't realize that most of these supplements are a 2 to 4 month supply. Like the B vitamins are a great example. That's a 4-month supply. You only take one of these each day. You get this giant bottle. It's 120 capsules. That's 4 months. You know what I mean? So yeah, it might be $50, but when you look at it, it's like $10 a month, you know? So that's kind of, always check for the size of the Designs for Health supplements, because most of the time you're getting a 2-month supply. Sometimes you're getting a 3 or a 4-month supply, depending on which supplement you're talking about. Okay, Glucose Supreme Herbal. I talk about this one all the time. It's because I love it. It's so good for so many things. It's got berberine, it's got fenugreek, American ginseng, gymnema, banaba, kudzu, cinnamon. It's got literally all of the things. Okay, that's what I love about it, is that it puts so many things together into one nice little capsule instead of having to take 7 different things. Together, all of these nutrients help support healthy glucose metabolism, metabolic health, antioxidative status, and a healthy inflammatory response. This is absolutely my go-to for balancing blood sugar and preventing inflammation due to out of control blood glucose. The thing I don't like about it is that you have to take 2 in the morning and 2 in the evening. That's kind of a high pill load. But when you look at how many things it combines together, right, you can't beat it. And then L-theanine. L-theanine is an amino acid found in tea that has been shown to support stress and occasional anxiety and promote relaxation. Now, a great way that you can get L-theanine is through green tea. So if you are a tea person, and you'll see more about that in the ebook, great. That is an absolutely fabulous way to get L-theanine. Me personally, I can only drink water. I know all of the incredible benefits of tea. I've seen the data. I have tried every which way possible to drink tea, and I just don't like the taste of it, and it's not worth it to me to torture myself every day, even knowing the health benefits. I just prefer the supplement. So, but the cool thing about this supplement here, NeuroCalm, yes, it has the L-theanine, which is nice. And this is my favorite one overall. If you just have chronic stress and anxiety, this is my go-to supplement. I really, really love this one. Got the L-theanine, yes. It also has the 5-HTP, which is an important precursor to the neurotransmitter serotonin and the sleep hormone melatonin. So obviously it's going to help you with sleep. It also has taurine in it, which is a great amino acid that can positively affect neurotransmitter transmission. Okay. It also has phosphatidylserine, another super important thing. It's got B vitamins. It's got magnesium. It also has GABA, what we talked about earlier. So it also has chamomile, which is wonderful for sleep. So this is one of those things where they took everything that's good for stress and anxiety and put it into one pill for you. So I love the NeuroCalm for that reason, just because it hits so many different things. So if you're only going to try one supplement for stress and anxiety, that's the one that I would lean towards, unless you have an issue with one of the ingredients that's in there. All right, so now let's talk about medications, my favorite part. Okay, so first let's talk about SSRIs, or selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. These are kind of currently the go-to for stress and anxiety, which I think is great. I do not hate on antidepressant medications at all. A lot of people don't like them for various different reasons, which is understandable. But I think in general, they work wonderfully for a lot of people, especially if you have debilitating depression. These medications can be absolute lifesavers, okay? SSRIs work by increasing serotonin levels in the brain, right? They kind of stop serotonin from being reuptaken. And they are thought to have a good influence on mood, emotion, and sleep. They are generally safe and well tolerated. This isn't one that we see a lot of major issues with. The big side effects that people hate that go along with these medications are sexual side effects and weight gain. It's usually not too bad with SSRIs, but it's certainly possible, okay? Just to give you guys a heads up, because I hate it when people don't adequately warn people about the side effect profile. They can also potentially cause nutrient deficiencies, especially of iron and folate and melatonin. So if you are put on these medications, you may want to ask your doctor about a folic acid prescription, and you might want to just take some iron and melatonin, right? Examples of this would be like Prozac or fluoxetine or Paxil paroxetine. If something ends in oxetine, all right, it is an SSRI. Now, SNRIs are another option. This is serotonin and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. So like serotonin, norepinephrine plays a role in how you feel, and it very specifically impacts your fight, flight, or freeze response, that sympathetic state that we were talking about, right? It influences how you react to stressors and threats. Low norepinephrine levels can also affect your sleep quality, your concentration ability, and your attention span. All right, so we want to keep all of these things up nice and high. SNRIs can help do that for us. Cymbalta and venlafaxine are probably the most popular choices that I see used out of this category for anxiety, and they generally do pretty well. I also like Cymbalta and venlafaxine because they can help with pain, right? It can help with arthritis, as well as anxiety and depression. So it's kind of cool when you get something that hits multiple different things. Once again, sexual side effects and weight gain are the main problems that we see with these medications. All right, now let's talk about buspirone. Buspirone is primarily used to treat generalized anxiety disorder. It's probably my favorite medication on this list. I wish that it was more like the primary go-to medication than it is, just because it doesn't really have many side effects. Okay, so it may not be the strongest thing on this list, so that's probably why it's not the go-to, but the nice thing is it just like doesn't cause near as many side effects as these other medications. And it's not associated with serious things like dementia and nutrient deficiencies. So I love it because it's just so innocuous, right? When I see someone going on buspirone, I don't really have to warn them about much. They're probably going to get along with it fine. It may not be enough to take care of like really high levels of anxiety, but it's a nice little medication that it's very safe, okay? Not the most powerful, but maybe the least harmful, if that makes sense. Okay, hydroxyzine. This is a first generation antihistamine. So it is in the same drug class as Benadryl. All right. So it can be calming. Absolutely. It's not quite as drowsing as Benadryl, but it's in the same drug class. The thing about it is that it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and daily use of first generation antihistamines for at least 3 years is associated with an increased risk of dementia and an increased risk of falls. So this is not generally something that I like to see patients taking long-term, or I at least hope that the doctor gave them adequate warning. Okay, my general thing that I tell people is if something makes you feel like a little loopy, a little out of it, it's probably not good for your brain long-term, right? And same thing with Benadryl, has the same risk that we see with hydroxyzine. So if you feel that way, you might want to rethink using it. You might want to try and use some of these other methods, whether it is, the lifestyle modifications, whether it's trying something like buspirone, whether it's trying supplements. You may want to consider talking with your doctor about going about it a different way rather than pushing yourself at an unnecessary risk if you can use something else to help take care of these problems. Okay, benzodiazepines. All right. Okay, no one come at me with the pitchforks. I always dread talking about benzodiazepines because they are super, super beneficial for some people, but I'm just going to be realistic about the data and about what we see with benzodiazepines. Okay, so they are depressants that produce sedation and hypnosis in people. And yes, they absolutely relieve anxiety. They can also prevent muscle spasms and they reduce seizures. Okay, so for seizures, benzodiazepines are well worth the risk. Let me state that in very clear terms, because sometimes I will talk about benzos and their risks, and then someone who takes them for seizures will say, oh my God, I'm taking this for seizures. What should I do? How can I get off of them? Don't get off of them, okay? The medical consequences of seizures are so incredibly serious, all right? We know the damage that having uncontrolled seizures does to your brain and your body, all right? If the benzodiazepine is controlling your seizures and causing you to have less of them, stick with the benzo. Please, 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 please hear me on that, okay? And for panic attacks as well, that's another one. When I talk about benzos, I'll have people, say, oh my God, I take alprazolam like twice a month because I get these out of control panic attacks. It's the only thing that calms me down. Guys, taking something like that in that judicious manner where you're using it like once or twice or 3 times a month, that is not going to harm you. All right. That is very short term, very once in a while, occasional use. This is not going to have an increased risk for you. Okay. And a panic attack is extremely serious. Okay. People have these panic attacks and it causes them heart palpitations. It can cause all kinds of issues. It's incredibly stressful for your body to go through. We don't want you to have a panic attack. If you are using a benzodiazepine as needed for panic attack control, great. Okay. I am not talking to you. But for the people who are taking benzodiazepines daily for general anxiety, this is probably not the best option. Okay. Long-term benzodiazepine use fosters dependence and exposure to potentially serious consequences like withdrawal-induced delirium. I have seen someone going cold turkey off of benzos in a delirious state. You don't want to see that, and you do not want to be in that, okay? It can cause seizures. So let's say that you never had any seizures before, but now you've been taking benzodiazepines 3 times a daily for years in order to control your anxiety. Then you stop taking them cold turkey, you can get seizures, okay? It's that serious, all right? Dementia, yes. Long-term use of benzodiazepines every single day are associated with dementia, with Alzheimer's, with all of these things, okay? And death. Yes, going cold turkey off of benzos can also cause death. Not good. Taking benzodiazepines regularly impairs cognition, impairs driving skills. I am terrified when I see some of these people who are taking a benzo 3 times a day driving in my drive-through. I'm like, oh my goodness, you're scaring me. Okay, I'm terrified. It can affect mobility. It can affect memory. It is estimated that exposure to benzodiazepines increases the risk of falling by over 50%. And older people are more sensitive. Okay, that's another thing. Like maybe you started benzodiazepines when you were in your 50s and you were perfectly mobile and who cares, right? But then you have to keep taking them because going through these withdrawals is going to cause you to have seizures and all of these terrible things. So now you're in your late 70s. Now you're not as mobile. Now you're at huge increase of fall risk. You've got osteoporosis. You've got all these things going on, right? So you have to think about the future and which medications you start in your 50s are going to be with you in your 80s. You know what I'm saying? So I am not a fan of benzos for anxiety. Like I said, for panic attacks, that's a little bit different, totally understandable, but to take them every single day, not my favorite option as a pharmacist, okay? That's all I'll say about that. Okay, beta blockers. Beta blockers are super interesting. They work by blocking the action of epinephrine and adrenaline. The Food and Drug Administration have not approved beta blockers for the treatment of anxiety, but I see it all the time. It's great for situational anxiety. For someone who knows they have to do a public speaking event, they can take a beta blocker right before the event. and they will stay calm. It works kind of backwards. It basically makes your heart rate and your breath slower. So it attacks anxiety from the back end by making your body calm. Then negative feedback goes up to your brain and makes your brain calm. I just find that really interesting. And you'll see it. Sometimes people take it like before they have a high stress job, right? They'll take it when they know they've got a big day coming up, whatever. So it's kind of cool that you don't have to take it every single time. You can just take it situationally for a particular event. So interesting, right? Okay, now ketamine. Ketamine is another super interesting one. Not something that we dispense in the retail pharmacy world, at least not at my store, but I did want to briefly touch on it because you're seeing more and more about it, okay? An increasing number of experts believe that ketamine might be an effective alternative for treating anxiety that does not respond well to other approaches. So this is kind of a last-ditch effort for people who've tried all the other things and they're just not really getting the benefit. They're still having panic attacks, major anxiety, whatever. Your doctor may suggest ketamine. Ketamine works by quickly increasing the activity of glutamate in the brain. Glutamate is one of the brain's chemical messengers, and it plays an important role in mood regulation as well as memory and learning. Glutamate also supports neuroplasticity, or the brain's ability to adapt and change with new experiences. So by increasing neuroplasticity, researchers believe that ketamine may help rewire your brain, disrupting problematic or harmful thought patterns and allowing you to form new pathways. So these new pathways allow you to create a more positive thought process. It can help relieve anxiety-like symptoms. And the thing that makes ketamine really unique is that it is immediate. So if you're taking an SSRI or an SNRI, they tell you it can take up to 6 weeks to start feeling anxiety relief. That's a long time to just sit there anxiously and wonder, is it working? Is it working? Do I feel less anxious, right? With ketamine, it works in about 2 hours. So very, very cool, right? Ketamine is available in several different forms. You can get it IV, you can get it IM into the muscle, also sublingually and nasal sprays. As I said, it's not available in my pharmacy, but I'm very curious about it. I love reading about the ketamine research. I think that it has a really interesting role to play in anxiety, and I'm definitely staying tuned to see what happens in the future with this. All right, so you guys have more goodies. Like I said at the beginning here, check out in the webinar section, the webinar class section, you're going to see the HPA axis dysfunction quiz. If you want to see where you might stand, you're going to get gluten and dairy-free recipe packs and meal plans for how to cut back on inflammation in your diet. You are going to get this replay. You're going to get the ebook on HPA axis dysregulation. You're going to get all of the good stuff there. So now I will go ahead and open it up for, hold on. I need to be able to see. Oh, here we go. All right, where is the chat? Here it is. Okay. Okay, suggestions, swollen ankles, lymphedema. Oh, I love that. Hold on. Let me take a picture of that. I love that suggestion. Thank you. Yeah, I've actually gotten several requests to talk about lymphedema lately. So absolutely, I will keep that in mind. Lymphedema is kind of interesting because it can be due to so many different things. So it tends to be more of an individualized thing, but it would be pretty cool to do an entire class all about lymphedema, all of the different things that can cause lymphedema and all of the different treatments available for sure. All right. Oh, no problem, Marcia. We're glad you made it. All right. Anybody have any other questions? Oh, thank you, Susan. So good to see you. And guys, it's like all my friends are here. I love it. I love just looking out and seeing all of these friendly faces, all of the names of people that I get to see all the time. Absolutely love you guys. And let me just say how much I appreciate you. Okay. This has been so incredibly rewarding. Just feeling like I'm actually helping people with all of these crazy videos that I churn out online and within the app, all of the different things that I upload. I've gotten such incredibly kind words, such wonderful feedback. And honestly, like I'm starting to get a little bit teary-eyed here. I'm going to try not to cry, but you guys have just made this entire experience so incredible, so valuable. You guys really make me feel like I'm doing something good in this world, and I absolutely love it. And people say all the time, like, oh, why are you only charging $6 for that? Are you kidding me? I would make it cheaper if I could. because I just love it. I love you guys. I love the interaction. I love all of the wonderful things you have to say. I love your suggestions. I have learned so much from your questions that I don't already know that I need to go back and research. So it's been great. And I've learned so many things from you guys too, because, you know, someone will tell me like, oh, you know, I had this reaction to this supplement. What does this mean? So then I'll look into that and be like, oh, well, that's what it means. Okay, great. I learned something from someone else today. So I love it. Oh, thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And if there's anything I can do to make the app better, to make it more informative, to have more of the things that you want to see, please let me know anytime. You can private message me, you can drop it in the content section, whatever. But I definitely want to make it as valuable to you guys as you guys have made this valuable for me. Oh, thank you so much, Marsha. Appreciate you. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, Jules. So good to see you. All right. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here. And if anyone wants to come to the live tomorrow, you're welcome to. You don't have to. It's not required. But this last Monday, no one showed up for the live, which is totally fine. Don't feel like you have to. Okay. Only show up if you got questions and you want to hang out. But that's why there was no recording. So I will be in there every day, every Monday, 9:30. I'll stay in until about 9:45, just in case anyone's a little bit late. But then I'll shut it down if no one comes in. Can you explain magnesium supplements that have several types in it? Yes. Okay. So Melanie, I do like those, you know, the ones that have multiple different types of magnesium. If you're someone who has various different needs and you want the very best magnesium for each type, because magnesium glycinate is nice because it kind of covers everything. But let's say that you want blood pressure lowering specifically. Yes, magnesium glycinate can help, but magnesium taurate may have a bit of an edge. Just like anxiety, magnesium glycinate can help, but magnesium L-threonate crosses the blood-brain barrier where magnesium glycinate doesn't. So this one has a little bit of an edge, right? Magnesium citrate and magnesium oxide can be more beneficial for constipation, da, da, da. The nice thing is you can get these multiple magnesium products that have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've seen, I think, 9 different types of magnesium if you literally want the best of everything. I think it's a cool option because it's better to get it all in one pill. I don't like it when people start taking like a magnesium glycinate and a magnesium citrate, because you're probably going to end up with too much magnesium. Well, probably not with that example because magnesium citrate really isn't well absorbed at all. But like, let's say you're taking magnesium glycinate and magnesium L-threonate. I don't think that's a great idea for most people because you might end up with too much, right? Not that too much magnesium is generally too much of a problem, but why not just get it in one nice little pill where you know that you're getting the right amount? You're not going to get too much. So yes, those are pretty cool. It's best to get one third-party tested if at all possible. You guys, when I see this data come out, I've seen like, I think it's like 3 or 4 different studies now where independent companies went on like the shelves of like CVS and Walgreens and tested independently these products. And about 80% of the time, the ingredients are not accurate. That freaks me out as a pharmacist because when I tell someone, yes, take magnesium glycinate, it's really going to help your restless leg syndrome. And then it doesn't help the restless leg syndrome. Then I have to sit and wonder, okay, but did they get any magnesium glycinate? Did they get the right amount? Could this actually be the thing that helps solve all their problems, but they didn't get magnesium glycinate? You know what I'm saying? It's just, I hate it. I used to just kind of say, oh, you know, probably most of the supplements that you see on Amazon are probably fine. I've kind of completely changed my opinion on that as I see more and more of these studies coming out. The Attorney General of New York actually sued a lot of major manufacturers of supplements because they were so off the mark. And when you get one that's third-party tested, it doesn't have to be Designs for Health. You can go to labdoor.com or you can go to Consumer Labs. There are several other ancestral products. I think that's another good one that's third-party tested. There are brands out there that are third-party tested. Try to get those when you can, just because then you know you're getting the right stuff, right? I've gotten more conservative as I go on in my career about my supplement recommendations, just because I want to make sure people are actually getting what I'm suggesting, if that makes sense. You know what, Susan? I am going to check that out because I don't know. I just always do the magnesium glycinate. I just always do because I love it so much. Oh, hold on. Actually, I've got my Designs for Health account pulled up right now. Let me check that out for you in real time. You guys are watching the sausage being made here. Let's see. I know they have various different magnesium products. I just always do the glycinate, but they've got other kinds as well. Let me see if I can pull up, here we go, search, if they've got a good combo product. Yeah, they've got magnesium malate, magnesium bisglycinate, same thing as glycinate, magnesium glycinate powder, magnesium glycinate complex. Yeah, I think it's mostly magnesium glycinate besides the magnesium malate, which they probably are using the magnesium malate because it's really good for pain. So they have like a whole line that's dedicated to helping chronic pain. And I do like magnesium malate for pain. If someone's got like fibromyalgia, that is one situation where I'll pull malate instead of glycinate, but it does not look like Designs for Health has like a good all-in-one combo for magnesium, unfortunately. Let me see. I'm going to check on Consumer Labs and see if they've got a good Consumer Labs, or no, not Consumer Labs. Ooh, I said the wrong one. Consumer Labs charges you. Labdoor is free. So anytime, now Labdoor doesn't have like the most selection. That's the bad thing. Because they are free, it's a completely free service to use. Okay, let's see what they've got for magnesium. Ooh, they got magnesium on here. Here we go. Okay. So if you go to labdoor.com, they do have a 4-in-1 magnesium complex that has an A. Ooh, let's see what magnesium it has in here. It's called Zentastic. It's got 4-in-1. But what are the magnesiums? I need to see it up close. Okay, here we go. Glycinate, malate, taurate. Am I blind? Why can I not read that? Oh, there it is. Glycinate, malate, taurate, lactate. Interesting. Okay, so that would be a good one if you're looking for, it's got the glycinate. That kind of covers everything. Malate for pain, taurate for blood pressure. I'm not really sure why they put the lactate in there, but go for it. So that's a good one. That's third-party tested at least. The Zentastic. Let's see. BioEmblem. It says that it's got 3 magnesiums, but it doesn't tell me which ones. That's a shame. So they've got a few different ones on there. So yeah, you can kind of look around. I just, you guys, you don't have to get Designs for Health. That's my favorite company just because it saves me so much time, but you can find good options elsewhere. Just please, 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 please always check for third-party testing. Is Monday the live found in your app? Yes, so it is on Zoom. And yes, Melanie, if you go to the content section and then look in the live Q&A, it has a link. It's the same link every single Monday at 9:30. So would love to see you there. Would love to see anyone there, but don't feel like you have to, you guys. Trust me, I get it. I'm so busy. I never show up to any sometimes I'll be part of, seminars, classes, whatever, and I'm never there for the live session, okay? Because my schedule is crazy. So for those of you who aren't here, it's okay. Okay, I don't judge you. I don't hold it against you. I get it. But for those of you who are, thank you. Love you guys. All right. So if that's it, thank you. Thank you so much, Barb. Thank you, Barb. I got 2 Barbs here. You guys are amazing. All right. Well, let me go ahead and stop the recording here if I can.